chill.
Hello Marvel Legends and welcome to another episode of Displaying Model Behaviour, and it's time once again to go back into the old Toy Biz vaults because we are going to look at every figure released in 2006. Folks, every single piece of photography used in this video has been taken from MarvelLegends.net, an incredible resource website made by fans for fans. If you want to check out some of their incredible photography, go on over to MarvelLegends.net.
Toy Biz decided to kick off 2006 by giving us something a little bit different. This time, it was the Versus 2-packs. The first one had Captain America against his arch nemesis, the Red Skull. Now, normally when I picture the Red Skull, I see him in his green jumpsuit or maybe his Hugh Hefner style smoking jacket, but in this instance, they put him in a very toyetic looking blue and red battle suit. Sticking with Captain America, the next pack had the Star-Spangled Avenger paired up against Baron von Strucker. This was the first time we had a Baron von Strucker figure, to the best of my knowledge, and they capture him pretty well with his bald head, monocle and evil Nazi sneer. Next up, we took it to the grim and gritty streets of Hell's Kitchen with the Daredevil and Kingpin 2-pack. Toy Biz decided to do a sneaky little double dip by also offering another 2-pack with a black-suited Kingpin and a maskless Matt Murdock. I distinctly remember when the Hasbro Build-A-Figure Kingpin came out, a lot of people were lamenting that even though he did look great, it was the Toy Biz Kingpin in his more classic-looking retro suit and cravat sort of style that was still arguably superior. And now finally, we've got that look in our Hasbro Build-A-Figure type Kingpin, and all is right with the world. The 2-packs became gamma irradiated with the next release of the Incredible Hulk and the Leader. I always thought this particular Hulk looked awesome, a great representation of the classic 70s style Hulk, which possibly wasn't bettered until we finally got the 80th anniversary one from Hasbro. Now again we got the sneaky little double dip, but it was a fun one. The first one came with the Leader, who has affectionately become known as the Testicle Head Leader. I prefer to call him the Broccoli Head Leader. Either way, the next one came out with the very retro, straight up and down kind of beaker looking forehead Leader. Either way, this 2-pack was excellent. And that concludes the first of many waves that Toy Biz put out in 2006.
This was a really fun way to kick off the year, doing something new with these rivalry 2-packs. It breaks things up from the regular waves with the Build-A-Figures and whatnot. And still, some of these figures do stand up so well with Kingpin with all the detailing on his costume. And man, even though we've got another Red Daredevil, a couple of Red Daredevils over the last few years, we are still desperately in need, I feel, of a definitive, maybe on the retro Spider-Man body, classic Red Daredevil.
Now we have a fun 4-pack with the Young Avengers. First up, we have Wiccan with his various magical Asgardian accessories. Then you've got the shape-shifting Hulkling, followed up by the futuristic Iron Lad, and the team is rounded out with their leader, the Patriot.
It was so good to see a Young Avengers set, and boy are we still crying out for a redo of some of these, especially Wiccan and Hulkling. I think it's so great to have more gay representation in the Marvel Universe and in the figures that come from it. And now with Wiccan and Hulkling both being featured so prominently in recent big-time Marvel comic stories, we really need another go-over with these characters.
Now it was time for Marvel Legends to get creepy, kooky, mysterious, and spooky with the Monsters 4-pack. One thing that I think really sets this set apart is just how beautifully sculpted and painted some of these facial features are. You take a close look at characters like Frankenstein's monster and the Wolfman, and you see the artistry that's gone into the painting and sculpting to really bring these characters to life. Or death. This was a really fun set that first of all had Dracula himself, then you've got Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, and finally the one and only Marvel Zombie.
Oh my goodness, I think 2006 has to be the year of figures that we want new versions of. The Marvel Monsters. Where are our modern Marvel monsters? With the new bucks and sculpts and painting, I could just imagine what Hasbro could do with a Frankenstein's monster or Wolfman. Speaking of Wolfman, Man-Wolf, where is our John Jameson? But I'm getting distracted. Let's go back to the list.
First up, it's Abomination, looking big, chunky, and terrifying. And you had a chase version of the figure as well, who had the messed up side of his face. So you had an extra thing to look out for. Then we have Blackheart. We're getting dark and satanic with this one. And with the sculpting, he looks just like this great, gruesome Cthulhu-type creature from the depths of hell. Then we go straight back to the real world with the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, a figure that a lot of people to this day still say is the standout Green Goblin figure, especially when you consider there's a chase version with an unmasked Norman head. Now we're able to bolster Wolverine's rogues gallery with Lady Deathstrike. This is what I feel is a cool figure let down by a bit of a derpy face, although what she does have going for her are the awesome looking razor fingers, and with her cybernetic long lanky limbs, she still looks pretty cool on the shelf. Now we have Loki, and this to my knowledge, or opinion, is still the best Loki figure that we've ever had. This was before Loki was the androgynous pansexual sex symbol that he is today, and was actually more of a withered old creepy Uncle Fester looking guy. But when you look at the detail in his armor and clothing and the horns, this is the premier version of Loki. Adding now to the roster of the Brotherhood of, don't call them evil, mutants, we have Pyro. And while this figure has some nice touches with the pipes and his flame backpack, the muddy colour of his arms looks kind of odd, and his bug-like eyes don't really suit the aesthetic. So overall, I'm glad we've got a new version of this character. And finally, for the Build-A-Figure, we have everyone's favourite Capcom end-of-level boss. It is Onslaught. I was so happy to see Hasbro do justice to the Onslaught character, because being a child of the 80s and 90s, Onslaught was the coolest thing in the world. For a time. Of course, this is the bug armored beetle shell type design, and I was always wishing that it would be the Magneto kind of version that we would get. And several years later, we eventually got our wish.
Oh, that Onslaught bath, so good. I love it, but at the same time, it needed to be a little bit bigger. He looks so small next to the other Toy Biz baths. Also, that Loki costume, this still stands out as the absolute best Loki. Toy Biz, they set the bar so high, unfortunately, that came with a big cost of production, which they just couldn't keep up with.
Continuing with the traditional waves, we now have the Giant Man Build-A-Figure wave. And who better to kick off the Giant Man wave with than the more diminutive Ant-Man? And Toy Biz were quite kind with this one, where he has a removable helmet, so you don't have to buy two figures to get the maskless look. Hello, what's going on here? It's only bloody Captain Britain. Sorry for an English person, I do the world's worst English accent, but this is Captain Britain. Now we have the Owen to Cyclops' Bret Hart, it is Havoc. And he has that kind of sneer on his face that just lets you know that he's clearly not happy about being second fiddle to his big brother. And following on from Havoc, we have Carol Danvers as Warbird. This is a figure that was later remade by Hasbro, but I don't think I'm alone in saying we could do with an update at this point. We now take an unexpected trip over to the Age of Apocalypse for Victor Creed, Sabretooth. And now it's time for the figure with the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. It is the Sentry. With two different versions. We've got the smooth baby-faced one and the bushy grizzly man look. Heading back over to the X-Men, we have Kitty Pryde with her adorable little dragon, Lockheed. And it's time now for one of Marvel's heavy hitters. It is, of course, the God of Thunder himself, Thor. And since the Age of Apocalypse is clearly such a lovely place to be, we revisit it with Weapon X, who also comes with a different look if you can chase that figure down. We have the burnt face Freddy Krueger Weapon X. And finally, once you've combined all those Build-A-Figure pieces, you have the incredible and rather expensive right now, Giant Man.
Giant Man. That figure is one that is so hard to come by these days. I don't even consider it like a missing part of my collection because I'm just like, nah, we ain't never getting that. Don't believe me? Go have a look for him on eBay.
Now I hope you like your villains grim and gruesome because we are moving on to the Mojo Wave. And to kick the wave off, we have the character who is about to be the main antagonist on the new Disney Plus Winter Soldier series. It is Baron Zemo. And this figure comes with another chase version you can hunt down with the very gruesome looking unmasked face. And now we have the other half of that Disney Plus lineup. It is the Falcon, who comes with a great looking Red Wing accessory, which is something we cannot say about the new Hasbro one. And now we gotta go back, way back into time with the original Iron Man suit, which is a really fun design for Toy Biz to go and tackle. And of course you can search out the more updated gold variant as well. And of course you couldn't possibly have a Mojo Wave without the villain's #1 ratings draw. It is his favorite superstar, Longshot. And sweet Christmas indeed, rounding out the wave, it is our favorite tiara-wearing badass, Luke Cage, Power Man. And for you lucky little devils who hunt down all the Build-A-Figure pieces, you get to assemble the gigantic, gelatinous, disgusting blob himself, Mojo.
Okay, this just shows off my personal tastes here because I don't have Mojo in my collection, and honestly, I'm not that bothered. Even if someone gave him to me for free, I'd be like, oh, it's just such a disgustingly put together character. I mean, like, it's brilliant. Like, the sculptors just saw the character and went like, oh man, he looks so gross. Let's translate that perfectly. It's the same with the Blob Build-A-Figure. I'm like, I don't want that on my shelf.
When someone at Toy Biz said we couldn't possibly make an uglier Build-A-Figure, somebody else said, hold my beer, and they brought out the Modok Wave. And what better way to kick off this weird, wonderful and wacky wave of characters than the horse-faced thunder god alien creature himself, Beta Ray Bill. And now guys, we have a milestone figure. Why is it a milestone? Because this is the first figure in the countdown that I actually possess. I own this Marvel. Actually, not specifically Marvel, but the variant. The beautiful, blue, cosmic looking Genisvel. I have this guy on my shelf with his great, colorful, translucent plastic. The sun can just pour through this, making it look like some quantum energy being. Such a great figure. With the bizarrely accurate Cody Rhodes face, this is one of my favorites in the collection. Now this is an interesting one as it's the first figure which I don't know if it's an original creation or if it has appeared in the comics at some point, because now we have Tony Stark in the Thor Buster armor. And not to be outdone by human technology, we have the Asgardian equivalent, the Big Bad Dangerous Destroyer. Taking it back to those streets which are still very grim and still very gritty, we have Mark Spector Moon Knight in one black costume, but also we have the variant version, the very shiny, silvery and kind of cool, well, silver version. And now, long before the Spider-Verse was ever a thing, we have not one, but two different Spider-Women, available in either Jessica Jones flavor or Jessica Drew flavor. So you can either have the bright and colorful red and yellow, or the sleek Venom looking black and white. We go now from female arachnids to female insects. It is Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp. And of course you get two different versions here as well. You get the more modern looking black and yellow one, but also you can go proper retro old school with her black and red design. Choose which one you like. And finally, rounding out the wave, we have the big, gruesome, ugly looking Build-A-Figure. It is the mechanized organism designed only for killing. It is Modok.
And much like the Mojo Build-A-Figure, Modok is just so gnarly and ugly looking with his look on his face and his little arms and his little legs sticking out. It's like, Oh, I mean, I've actually pre-ordered the new Modok because there's something a little bit more cartoony and sort of clean about the Hasbro style. It's like the Toy Biz Modok, you can imagine he would probably smell bad. Not the figure, but the character. It's almost like a smell-o-vision kind of thing. The Hasbro one looks a lot cleaner.
Alright guys, we're powering on through the year and it is time for another round of face-off. First of all, we have Iron Man and the Mandarin. Can you believe, to the best of my knowledge, this is the only Mandarin comic book figure that we've had for the Legends line? It is so in need of an update and hopefully we're going to see that soon. But for something to pass the time, this is a really nice figure. He's got some magic effects, he's got the bright, colourful costume. It's pretty cool. It's just badly in need of an update. Now this pair I'm really fond of. We have Punisher and Jigsaw. Jigsaw's such a mean, gnarly, nasty looking villain that I would love to see an updated version, but even with today's crafting technology, I don't think we'd see one that looks as gruesome as this one with the big bulging left eye and the mashed up looking face. Plus we got an extra variant of this pack as well, with Jigsaw in a nice clean white suit, which is kind of like the suit the Kingpin Build-A-Figure wears. Plus the Punisher also has a more modified, kind of I think a sort of a 90s look of his regular Punisher costume. And with this next pack, we get to play the game of, is it a new set or is it just a repaint? Well, the answer is somewhere in the middle. It's the Mandarin once again, and this time he's taking on War Machine. So they didn't have to do very much to alter this pack up besides changing some of the colors. So Mandarin now has a great red, flaming, fiery looking kind of costume, and also he has an unmasked head, so there is something different there. Then for Iron Man, they've retooled him into the big bad black and white looking War Machine. And to round out the second face-off wave, we have the original designs of Wolverine and Sabretooth, one of the most iconic duos, rivalries to package together with this set. And they both look pretty cool. Wolverine in his first appearance from Hulk 181, and Sabretooth rocking the kind of toned down style of costume that he had in his first appearance in Iron Fist. And there is of course a variant for this set as well, which has probably the least amount of changes in it. In this case, just both figures come with more angry, snarling, sneering kind of faces.
Those face-off 2-packs were fun sets, and again, like with previous sets from 2006, reminds me how many figures I still want to see in new Hasbro releases. 90s Iron Man, give us that. The Mandarin, yes please, thank you. Jigsaw, just serve them all up. I want so many of these figures that have been done before, but now we just need them done again because, like, it's all this money I'm trying to get rid of, obviously.
Now we have one of the most unusual 4-pack sets that I think Toy Biz have done, and that is the House of M set. And it's so bizarre, but really cool. First of all, you have this House of M Hulk, and look, hands up, cards on the table, I haven't read House of M for years, whenever it came out in the early 2000s, and even then I only read the main stories and not the tie-ins, so I have no idea why some of these characters are looking like this. But take this Hulk, look at the sculpting on him. He's got these kind of tribal, aboriginal type tattoos, makeup paint on him, then with the really snarling looking face. It's a cool Hulk figure, maybe the best figure that Toy Biz have done, but just a really unusual design that I can't explain the story behind. And speaking of figures that I can't explain the story behind, we have this demon, fire, devil looking Johnny Storm. How this fate befell one of our Fantastic Four heroes, I have no idea. And whether this character is good, bad, tortured, indifferent, I don't know. But the figure with the huge fiery flaming wings looks amazing. And speaking of amazing looking, we have a Japanese Edo period samurai theme inspired Iron Man. Again, no idea the story behind this figure, but look at the gigantic backpack rocket type accessory on him there, the awesome samurai looking style mask. This is a figure I've been really tempted to get, even though I know nothing about him just because of how awesome he looks. And rounding out the set in kind of a bizarre way, we have the saddest looking thing I've ever seen. Poor old Ben Grimm. I have no idea what fate has befallen him to make him so glum, but he's got this, what looks like a restraining collar around his neck, and it looks like he's having a real bad day. But again, as far as a thing figure is concerned, you look at the size of this, the mass, the chunkiness, this is an awesome figure. If they had just taken off this head and replaced it with a classic sort of Mama Grimm's baby boy looking blue-eyed thing, that would have made a really great addition to the Fantastic Four.
What a bizarre set House of M is, and it's really cool and actually not that expensive. If you want to go back and pick up some of these bizarre random looking characters, then you can do. They're not available. I think if you try to find them as a box set, yeah, that's probably going to be quite a big price tag. But just to find like the samurai looking Iron Man or the crazy devil Human Torch, you can go onto eBay and they're not too hard to come by. I just wouldn't know where on earth to put them in my collection.
And now for the last wave of this year, it almost feels like Toy Biz just went, you know what haven't we done yet? I'll tell you what, let's throw in some 616, some Fox movie characters, and oh, what the hell, we'll put in some Ultimate characters as well. Just, what the heck, let's just go ham with this one. So first up, we've got Sean Cassidy, Banshee, who we desperately need to bolster out the ranks of our classic X-Men team. This is a figure who's long overdue, but the old Toy Biz one, he still holds up pretty well. He's got a great screaming sculpt on the face, and you can put him next to the Hasbros, and he doesn't look out of place. Now a figure that I don't think anyone desperately wanted, we have the Kelsey Grammer Beast. Who would have thought we would ever have a Frasier action figure? But hey, I guess we get a Sideshow Bob action figure too. There's probably a whole Kelsey Grammer cinematic universe out there. But this is from the much maligned, and rightly so, X3 movie. We have Beast. Now going back to the comics, it is the White Queen Emma Frost, and this I think is a noble attempt at her X-Men gear. That looks pretty cool, although I think the face leaves a lot to be desired. It looks a little stretched out and a bit of a funny sort of expression, and of course she's missing any of her diamond effects. This is a figure that was, I think, greatly improved upon later on by Hasbro. Now we got ourselves the Mighty Hercules, and he's a good big chunky figure. They do a lot of justice to this character, really jacking him up and making him big and strong looking. He's a fun member of the Mount Olympus gang. Speaking of big chunky figures, we have one of my favorite Hulk figures. We have Gladiator Hulk from Planet Hulk, and this guy looks so cool. I think it's the same Hulk from the House of M pack. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But yeah, with his mean looking face, big old jade jaws there, with his Gladiator helmet and all the accoutrements as well. A really, really cool Planet Hulk figure. And rounding out the wave, it's Ultimate Iron Man. Ultimate Iron Man I do not think is a character or story run that's ever going to be looked back on particularly fondly. They made some real weird decisions in that Ultimate universe, but one good thing to come from it was this Iron Man suit design, which has a very unique looking helmet I think is very cool, and also the grey body going up to the red and yellow looks a lot like the Iron Man design from the first Marvel Universe Spider-Man film, so I think there was probably some inspiration taken from the Ultimate Comics, and it's translated really well into this action figure. And finally, completing this final wave of 2006 is the Build-A-Figure, and what a way to go out. We have Annihilus. All the things that I love about figures. He's big, he's got huge wings, he's bright and colourful, and he's got a mean, gnarly face. This is a Build-A-Figure that's still very hard to come by and will fetch a pretty price for a good version of him. But he's so cool, and I really, really hope we get an updated version of this in the 2021 Fantastic Four wave. Annihilus, one of the last really big, badass looking Build-A-Figures that Toy Biz got the chance to do, and what a great way to go out on 2006. This year just had so many great figures, and the sculpting and detail on characters like Jigsaw, like the Marvel monsters, so much work and effort, but unfortunately this was kind of an expanding bubble that could only go so far. That was the problem with Toy Biz. They set the bar so high that simply the economics of the cost of making figures like this didn't match up with what they could get back, and ultimately the bubble had to
pop, and eventually that would happen, but we got some amazing figures out of their crazy design aesthetics. But we are not done yet. There's still a whole lot more figures to go through, and I am gonna make these videos. I promise I will start to make them more regularly. In the meantime though guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see here and you want to see more, then join the 6-1 Clicks by clicking the like, share and subscribe buttons. And if you really want to support the channel, you can go over to patreon.com/displayingmodelbehavior. Throw a few Marvel bucks my way and it helps keep the lights on. And in the meantime, guys, check out the Data Blast coming up now. All the best things I found on Instagram, curated for your enjoyment. Check the names of the creators and go give them a follow because they do fantastic work. And until next time, keep displaying moral behavior.
Choose